What's going on, everybody? It's a little after 8 in the morning for me right now, and I stayed up all night to watch the new Gundam movie, Flash of Hathaway, or as Netflix is just calling it, Gundam Hathaway. I watched it right when it dropped around 3, and around like 5 in the morning, I was like, you know what? I think I want to make a quick video talking about the movie, just like give my initial reactions. And what went from just me sitting in front of the camera talking about the movie to I wrote a whole script. So we basically have another jot shot, but that's fine because, hey, we just talked about Gundam in the last jot shot. We're kind of on an anime kick already. We might as well push in that direction. Now that we got that all out of the way, holy shit. So Hathaway was amazing. Like, even with all the buildup and delays, and we didn't even know when it was going to come to the States and when it was going to even release in Japan. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, it's here. And it just exceeded expectations, man. The animation was great. The action was great. The voice acting was great. The music, fuck! Everything was just amazing, dude. It was crazy. So I'm trying to not geek about this movie too hard, because I'm a little biased because I'm already a UC Gundam fan, so like I'm already geeked as it is. So we'll kind of start from the top and just break it down. I'll try to save the spoilery stuff for like later on at the end of the video, but if I do add any spoilers, like I'll add something like over here. I'll do something. So the first thing I want to talk about is there is a lot of like little attention to detail stuff that they added in the movie that just blew me away. And when I say attention to detail stuff, I'm talking realism in terms of animation. So like for instance, there's a scene early on in the movie where there's some gunshots fired and the shells, when they hit the carpet, they're so hot that they singe an imprint into the carpet. And I was like, damn, I never even would have thought to add that. Or later on, there's a scene with some plasma and we get to see the close-ups of like the plasma splashing and melting everything. And dude, it's a lot of stuff I never would have thought about to like add attention to detail, but it sort of gives that realism. And all the little like details like that really add to the immersion of the movie for the viewers. So like it really helps you sink your teeth into some of the scenes, especially that plasma scene I'm talking about, which I can't talk too much about that because that would be once again spoiler territory. So for the most part, the movie is a lot of dialogue, but with that being said, when the action sequences do come through, they are amazing and they're well worth the wait. So like you get hit with an action sequence like right out the gate. The sequence was so violent that I didn't feel like I was watching a mainline UC Gundam movie, because with Gundam, like a lot of the violence is kind of like it's there, but it's toned down. And with this, it was like, man, like people were getting headshotted, blood splatters. I'm talking like full on execution. Man, it was not anything I would have expected. So it was kind of a pleasant surprise. Like the most grit we get with mainline Gundam is Thunderbolt, and like even that I was like really surprised when I saw a lot of like the gore and intensity. So for those of you looking for like the mech action sequences, like if you're into Gundam like purely just for the mechs and not the story, you're gonna be a little disappointed because there's only 2 mech fight scenes. But I will say this is one of those things where they went with quality over quantity, because god fucking damn are they some of the coolest mech fight sequences I've seen in a minute. And the first one happens around 40 minutes into the movie, with the later fight happening around the last half hour of the movie. The first mech fight sequence is really the star of the show for those like who are into that. Really want to talk about that scene, but I don't want to spoil it. Like I know like if I waited a couple days, like I could probably be like, oh yeah, like this happens here and this happens there. But I just don't want to ruin that sequence, because that mech action sequence really kind of made the movie for me. I feel like it set the tone. Like if the tone wasn't already set with the first initial action sequence at the beginning of the movie, this mech scene really took the giant stamp and said, "Hey, this movie's fucked. These movies are going to be continue being fucked." It's like, oh, dude, I love it. On top of the lack of mech fight sequences, there isn't a whole lot of variety in terms of what you're going to see on screen if you're looking for different mechs. So, like, for instance, you're going to see the Mezzer, and I think there was like a variant of the Gustav Karl that kind of looked like a Jesta, and there might have actually even been a Jesta. And then, of course, there are the Star mobile suits, the actual Gundams for this, which are the Penelope and it's like C Gundam. It's like XI, but I know the pronunciation it's not actually, I don't fucking know. They look cool, man. They're really great when they're on screen. But coming back to it though, like I said, this is a quality over quantity situation, and I will take that any day over just a movie that's filled with bullshit action. Because it was like quality cinematography, music, editing, and really it was like fine steak with like the right cup of wine. And man, it's the Gundam shit I've dreamt about for years. Like the stuff I've been wanting to see since I was a kid. And it delivered. Which brings me to my next point, the animation. Gundam, like most modern anime, has been slowly transitioning itself to the usage of CGI. We've seen it in Unicorn, and NT, and Origin, and now we're getting it in Hathaway. CGI in anime is typically like a huge turnoff because I'm a big fan of like, cell animation and hand-drawn stuff. But I thought it was used well in Hathaway. The transitions from digitally drawn animation to CGI weren't jarring at all. And I kind of found myself really appreciating the mobile suit designs in this particular medium. Like, every time the Mezzer's on screen, it just screams eye candy. And even though, like I said, there isn't a ton of mech variety in this movie, when they are on screen, they look fantastic. And it wasn't just CGI for the sake of CGI. This was CGI done right, with love. It wasn't like the CGI stuck out like a sore thumb against the backdrops. Like everything usually blended together nicely and it didn't look like shit. Because there's some anime you watch where it's like CGI and background and they just look like fuck when they're together, And of course, we got to talk about the music. They had a great soundtrack provided by Hiroyuki Sawano. I probably butchered that. You've more than likely heard Sawano's composing if you watch things like Attack on Titan or Blue Exorcist, Kill la Kill, and of course, Gundam Unicorn. There's a particular scene in the movie where there's characters dancing in a club, and there's this like really great like boom, 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 like bass beating track, and it bleeds into the next scene, and the way they edited it is it turned into one of the tracks made specifically for the movie, like one of the theme songs. And just the editing with that music was just like perfect, bro. So like the biggest complaint that I think people are going to have with this movie, especially with newcomers, is that the ending of the film just kind of happens. Film is a lot of setup. But that's okay because we got to remember that this is part of a trilogy. Plot-wise, I think it was very standard. I don't think we really had anything super groundbreaking. But once again, that's fine because it's a setup film. I was expecting to just meet characters. I wasn't expecting a lot of combat. It was just going to be a lot of run-of-the-mill shit. The tone of the film reminds me a lot of like Zeta. It's like this weird cross of like Zeta meets 0083, and then they like shake hands with Thunderbolt, and it's got a certain grit to it. It's definitely dark. This is not something that you should watch expecting to see a giant happy ending. Because honestly, this is a return to what I think is the golden age of Tomino, which is the 80s. This has got old school Tomino written all over it, and can't wait to see the story unfold. I know very little about the story. I just know that I've been waiting a long time for it, and if I could read the novels, I would. So hopefully those get localized at some point. Let's do something about that. The reason I think I keep coming back to Zeta when I'm thinking about the tone of this movie is because it's like the Mopti are very similar to the AUG as a terrorist organization, and the EFSF, or what they're referring to them as the Manhunters, they're very similar to the Titans from Zeta. So they're like, it's like that same kind of thing where a lesser power sticking it to the man, basically. And I'm sure the AUG like Mofty thing is on purpose, like comparing them or getting you to think that way if you've watched Tomino's, previous works or read his previous works. Gundam has always been kind of like, hey, history, it's doomed to repeat itself, which is fine. Yeah, so I'm super thankful that Netflix was able to make a deal happen and distribute this, because like when Gundam Narrative came out, we had to wait like I think it was like a solid year before it hit digital platforms, which sucked. Yeah, so to give you a little background, I first saw Char's Counterattack when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I've been waiting for the sequel for about 20 years, and I'm sure the rest of the trilogy is going to be amazing. I'm really hoping that with the popularity of the movies and Gundam becoming bigger than it ever has been, I'm hoping that maybe, like I said before, we'll get more localizations of novels and manga and stuff like that. So my final thoughts on the film are that it's probably the most solid Universal Century installment we've had in a long time. I like Unicorn, and I thought NT was okay, and obviously like Thunderbolt has been good at like filling the need for some sort of big Gundam thing to come out, but something about this movie is special. I'd also say that if you haven't seen the other Universal Century movies, you probably won't understand some of the callbacks and even flashbacks. And to me, like I said before, it kind of gives me Zeta vibes. So like, it feels like it's gonna take the ideas and philosophies from, Zeta and Char's Counterattack and kind of like turn them up to 11. I can say in full confidence that this feels like a solid return to the Yoshiyuki Tomino that we all fell in love with during the 80s. Well, it sounds weird for me to say that because I wasn't born in the 80s, but all the Gundam that I seem to love the most was, from like 79 to like 92. So that's kind of like the golden era of Gundam for me. And it feels like this whole thing is just like a giant hug and a welcome back to that kind of era of Gundam. We've been waiting for so long for something like this, honestly. And, well, it sounds weird to say we, I'm assuming other people are as passionate about this as I am. Yeah, man. Thank you, Sunrise. Thank you for finally doing this. Maybe, I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but I feel like if this goes well, maybe we'll get more Gundam stuff like Advance of Zeta, or maybe even Crossbone, man. That would be crazy to see something like that. Really, had to force me to give a number rating for the movie, I'd say something like, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Jotty says check it out. I know this is a little bit more of like a review type video, but I couldn't hold my hype in for the movie. I needed to talk about it. I needed to do something. So, especially after doing that jot shot about Gundam and just getting in that mindset, it just needed to happen. So I felt like this was a fitting follow-up. Something that's great also I would like to announce is we have a bunch of new channel members since the last time I made a video. So channel members are Papa Cat, Sheba, Devil Sword Omar, Spikes, Art Hammond, Doomboy, and that Force Field guy. Thank you guys very much for everything you do, and y'all help make the dream possible that I can keep making videos and streams. So thank you so much for your continued support. if you'd like to become a channel member, use the join button below, or, you know, I think there's one on my profile too. If you're new to the channel, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. I stream pretty much almost every day. I'm going to be trying to be more regular with my videos, you know, try to come up with something like at least twice a month. And, yeah, I'm thinking about maybe going to get some sleep when I'm done editing this. But, yeah, most importantly, remember, no brain, just aim.